my name is Abhilasha and of course I'm a VARC educator on Unacademy and I hope I'm streaming live. This is slot 2 of CAT 2022. We are going to be talking about VARC. फाइनली हम लोग स्ट्रीम तो कर गए हैं, अब बाकी का देख लेते हैं कि क्या करना है. तो पेपर एक बार देख लें. लेट अस टेक अ लुक. दिस वाज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग पेपर in the sense that कुछ नया हो गया, something new happened and we got some very new different question types. So if you look at the question paper pattern, the paper pattern was something similar, something dissimilar. So what was similar? There were 4 RCs, each comprising 4 questions. That was what was similar. The surprise then came in the VA section of the VARC paper or the VARC section. Now, what was VA all about? VA generally had 3 types of questions earlier. You had paragrams, you had parasummaries, and you had workaround. Well, this time they did not do that. So this time what we did get was parajumbles. We got para summaries, but we got a surprise question type, which was a para completion. Now, this actually is a hybrid question type that came. So, what do I mean by a hybrid question type? Well, if you look at a para completion, generally a paragraph would be given and one sentence would be missing and you would get 4 choices wherein you would fill one of the choices as the correct answer. But here that did not happen. Here what happened was that you were given 4 blanks within the paragraph and there was just one sentence and you had to fit that one sentence within one of those blanks. So one of those blanks would be replaced by this sentence that had been given. So effectively this was not about filling up the blank but actually about arranging that sentence within the context of the sentence prior and sentence after it. So effectively making it a hybrid question of a para jumble. So essentially अगर हम ये पेपर देखते हैं, we look at this question type, it's not really a para completion but it is more of a para jumble type of a question given in the form of a para completion. For example, I mean, if you look at it, odd one out was also a para jumble question only, just the formatting was different and nothing else. Well, let us look at our paper now and quickly analyze what were the different sections और क्या क्या हो रहा था हमारे हर सेक्शन में. फटाफट से देख लेते हैं. Guys, if you are with me, तो you can also quickly comment and share whatever your responses are. फटाफट शुरू कर देते हैं. Before I begin, quick round of announcements. So Telegram पे अभी CAT से connect कर सकते हैं हम लोग. Follow these 4 simple steps to get a 7-day free trial. Guys, ये एक बहुत amazing चीज हुई है जो we must also understand and talk about a little bit, that Unacademy is unlocking a free trial from today. Now, what does that mean? That essentially means that you, my learners, can join Unacademy for free for 7 days starting today. So if you start today, you unlock the free trial today, then the next 7 days you can come and join all our plus classes. हमारी बहुत सारी plus classes होती है. मेरी खुद की plus class 6:30 पे है आज, एक 8 PM पे है और there is one more at 10 PM. So you can come and join and attend any of our plus classes today and the subsequent 7 days and take advantage of seeing all of these lovely classes. तो ये get a sneak peek into the target IM batch 2023 आज से शुरू हो रहा है. आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, you have to scan this QR code, register and choose CAT and other MBA entrance tests, activate your code and start learning. The code that you have to use is AbhiCAT Live. कोड रहेगा अभी कैट लाइव. ये कोड यूज कीजिएगा और कोई कोड यूज नहीं करना है. अभी कैट लाइव, सिंपल, बहुत आसान कोड है. आगे चलते हैं. टारगेट IM बैच 2023. दिस इज द बैच दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. रवि सर, रौनक सर, शबाना मैम, माई सेल्फ, उदित सर. मैं कल से स्टार्ट करने वाली हूँ December 1st. सॉरी, आज ही से स्टार्ट करने वाली हूँ. आज December 1st ही है. तो 8 PM we are starting off with this very interesting batch where we will be starting off with vocabulary. तो कोड वही है. गिव योर CAT 23 प्रिपरेशन अ बूस्ट. टारगेट IM बैच को ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं. फाइनल लैब फॉर IFT ज़ैट एंड CMAT, ये रहा हमारा बैच. इसको ज्वाइन करो और सीखो. कैट परसेंटाइल कैलकुलेटर का आ चुका है. यू शुड टेक एडवांटेज. अनअकैडमी कैट सब्सक्रिप्शन, याद रहे सब्सक्रिप्शन कुछ भी हो, कोड एक ही रहेगा, अभी कैट लाइव. एंड अभी तो आपके पास 1 वीक का फ्री ट्रायल है, तो कम एंड जॉइन मी इन माय क्लासेस. माय नेम इज Abhilasha. So here are some of my upcoming batches. Snap and IFT vocab is ongoing. ZAT 15 December से start होगा. Okay, so let us look at CAT. बात करते हैं हमारे CAT पेपर की. बहुत प्यारा सा क्वेश्चन पेपर है, बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग एंड बहुत मजा आने वाला है आज के पेपर में हम लोगों. सो स्टार्ट करते हैं. आई होप यू आर एबल टू सी द पेपर. मैं तो देख पा रही हूँ, अच्छे से दिखाई दे रहा है. सो जो हमारा फर्स्ट आरसी था गाइस, नाउ दिस आरसी वाज फ्रॉम साइंसेस, नेचुरल साइंस का था, अबाउट एनिमल्स था. बहुत क्लियरली आपको ऑक्टोपसेस के बारे में बात किया था, और ऑक्टोपस कैसे होते हैं, उनकी लाइफ्स कैसी होती हैं, उनकी बॉडीज कैसी होती हैं, एंड हाउ दे आर प्रोटेक्टिंग देमसेल्फ, उसके बारे में बात किया हुआ था. सो लेट अस रीड दिस पैसेज एंड वी विल ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट दिस पैसेज इज ऑल अबाउट. So octopuses are misfits in their own extended family. So we started out by saying that extended families में in their own families they are misfits. They belong to the mollusca class Cephalopoda, but they don't look like their cousin. Now something important. Whenever you see a contrasting conjunction, you know कि कुछ important आने वाला है. तो they don't look like their cousins at all. Other mollusks include sea snails, sea slugs, bivalves. Most are shelled invertebrates with a dorsal foot. Cephalopods are all arms. तो cephalopods के सिर्फ हाथ होते हैं and can be as tiny as 1 centimeter and as large as 30 feet. Some of them have brains the size of a walnut, which is large for an invertebrate. So the cephalopods have larger brains also. It makes sense for these mollusks to have added protection in the form of a higher cognition. तो second paragraph में आते हैं, कहते हैं कि because they are very small and they are very weak, they don't have shells also. They have added protection in the form of higher cognition. So they are able to recognize things faster. They are better in terms of their cognition. They don't have a shell covering them, and pretty much everything feeds on cephalopods, including humans. तो सभी चीजें उन पे फीड करती है, इंक्लूडिंग द ह्यूमंस दैट यू हैव. हाय गाइस, सो ऑल दोज हु हैव जॉइंड अस जस्ट नाउ, बिल्कुल फटाफट से आप देख लो एक बार. पैसेज को थोड़ा सा जूम कर लोगे तो और आराम से दिखाई दे जाएगा. बट how did cephalopods manage to secure their own invisibility cloaks? Cephalopods fire from multiple cylinders to achieve this in varying degrees from species to species. So how are these animals invisible? How do they manage to merge with their environment and work very well? तो इनके इनविजिबिलिटी क्लोक्स क्या है? सो दिस इज वेरिंग इन डिग्रीज फ्रॉम स्पीशीज टू स्पीशीज. There are four main catalysts. That means four things that help the cephalopods do this. The first is chromatophores, the second is iridophores, the third is papillae, and the fourth is leucophores. Now, chromatophores essentially are, so the next paragraph now talks about chromatophores, and each subsequent paragraph talks about each subsequent things. So these are organs on their bodies that contain pigment sac. So this paragraph talked about the coloring of the animal. So pigment sacs है which have red, yellow and brown pigment granules. तो ये colors होते हैं. These sacs have a network of radial muscles. Please remember, radial means radiating outward from a certain point. Meaning muscles arranged in a circle radiating outward. So the muscles arranged outwards. These are connected to the brain by a nerve. So there is a nerve which connects it to the brain. Okay. When the cephalopod wants to change color, the brain carries an electrical impulse through the nerve to the muscle that expands outward. So the brain sends this message, the muscle expands outward, pulling open the sac to display the colors on the skin. So the colors of the skin open up and they start displaying. Why these three colors? Because these are the three colors the light reflects at the depths they live in. So all the rest is absorbed before it reaches those depths. So the light, when it will come, it will reflect these colors, and these are the three colors that will be visible. So that's number one. Now what about the other colors? There are other colors also. So cue the iridophores. The iridophores take care of the other colors. Think of a second level of skin that has thin stacks of cells. So the next level has thin stacks. These can reflect light back at different wavelengths. So different wavelengths, the light is reflected back. It's using the same properties that we've seen in hologram stickers or rainbows and puddles of oil. You move your head and you see a different color. So as you move your head, you will see a different color. The sticker isn't doing anything but reflecting light. It's your movement that's changing the appearance of the color. So this quality is called iridescence, and this is what the quality is that these animals have. तो उनको ये iridescence से दिखाई दे जाता है. Now come to the third quality. So they give you the third quality, papillae. The third thing that helps save them are sections of the skin that can be deformed to make a texture bumpy. तो skin smooth है, ये papillae की वजह से skin bumpy हो जाती है. Okay, just we call goosebumps, you understand? The same thing happens for the animals also. Even humans possess them but cannot use them the way these cephalopods can. For instance, the use of these cells is how an octopus can wrap itself over a rock and appear jagged. So the octopus will wrap itself, lie on a rock and appear jagged and not appear like an octopus. Or how a squid or cuttlefish can imitate the look of a coral reef. So they become like their environment. Okay, that's so beautiful. It actually matches the texture of the substrate it chooses. So whether it is on a rock, it will look like a rock. If it is on something else, it will start looking like that thing. तो जिस भी चीज पे होगा उस चीज से मैच करने लगेगा. So that is a very interesting thing. Now finally the leucophores. Now the leucophores, that's the fourth thing. According to the paper published in Nature, cuttlefish and octopuses, they possess an additional type of reflector cell called a leucophore. So they have one more cell which is called the leucophore. They are cells that scatter full spectrum light so that they appear white in a similar way that a polar bear's fur appears white. So जैसे the polar bear का fur appears white, similarly these animals also, their fur also, their skin also appears white. So it can mix with the environment. Leucophores will also reflect any filtered light shown on them. So if the water appears blue at a certain depth, the octopus and cuttlefish will appear blue. If the water appears green, they appear green, and so on and so forth. So these are all the ways a sea animal, especially octopus or a cephalopod, can appear same as its environment and not be at risk of anything. So here's your first question. Let's take a look. Based on the passage. Now here in CAT you have to understand it's the question that is tricky. This passage was fairly easy and so were the questions. So let's read. Based on the passage we can infer. So that's my first signal that inference का question है. That all of the following statements, if true, would weaken the camouflaging adeptness of cephalopods except. Okay. So first understand. So जो भी statements हैं, they will weaken the camouflaging adeptness of cephalopods. That means they will weaken how the cephalopod can adapt to its environment, can camouflage itself, except. So I am looking for the one that will not weaken the camouflaging adeptness. Remember, infer something except means not infer, right? So all of the statements if true would weaken. So weaken except, please understand, is going to be not weaken or strengthen. Okay, तो हमें करना है strengthen. So the first thing that we are doing is we will try and find one which will strengthen the camouflaging adeptness of any of these animals. Let's take a look at our options. फटाफट अगर कोई यहाँ पे आ चुका है तो मुझे आंसर भी बता दो क्या होना चाहिए तुम्हारा आंसर. हाय कृति, गुड इवनिंग. फटाफट देख रही हूँ क्या होना चाहिए. द नंबर ऑफ क्रोमैटोफोर्स, हम ऑप्शंस भी देखते चले फटाफट से. आई एम जस्ट वेटिंग फॉर वन ऑफ योर आंसर्स. कृति, आर यू गोइंग टू गिव अस एन आंसर? तो ऑप्शंस देख लेते हैं एक बार जल्दी से. तो ऑप्शन नंबर 1 कहता है द नंबर ऑफ क्रोमैटोफोर्स इन cephalopods is half the number of iridophores and leucophores. Now interestingly this was not mentioned anywhere in the passage and this was not inferable also. So this is the one that I cannot infer to be true. So I will put a star on this and I will look at the other options. The hydrostatic pressure at the depths at which cephalopods reside render radial muscle movement difficult. Please understand that very first type of camouflage was where the muscles moved in a radial manner. When the brain sent a signal, the muscles would move radially. Now, if the radial muscle movement is impossible, the animal cannot camouflage. Therefore, this is going to weaken. Right? If it is weakening, this cannot be my correct answer. I will eliminate. The temperature of water at the depths at which cephalopods reside render the transmission of neural signals difficult. Now, if the animal cannot send the nerve signals, neural signals means signals to the brain through the nerves, then how is it going to send the radial signals? If it is not going to send the radial signals, then the animal cannot camouflage. So again, this one also will weaken the answer, so cannot be my answer. I will eliminate. Light reflects the color red, green and yellow at the depths at which the cephalopod reside. Now if at this depth the animals, the colors red, green and yellow are being reflected, then again the animal cannot put itself in that same color and camouflage. So again weaken. So I have three options which are directly weakening this. So they cannot be the correct answer. So the one that cannot weaken or the one that we cannot understand from the context of the passage becomes the correct answer. So correct answer here will be number 1. Let's go to the next question. Here's question number 2. All of the following are reasons for octopuses being misfits except that they. तो कौन सा रीजन है कि ऑक्टोपस मिसफिट नहीं है? देखते हैं. They exhibit higher intelligence than other mollusks. Well, the passage had very clearly said this. Okay, this was from the passage. It is a fact-based question. The very first paragraph, it said they have brains which are bigger than, larger than other invertebrates. So this is a misfit, reason for a misfit. So cannot be my answer. Eliminate. They are consumed by humans and other animals. Well, this was not mentioned in the passage, so I'll put a star on this. They do not possess an outer protective shell. Yes, this was one of the reasons why the octopus is a misfit. So again, this cannot be my answer. I will eliminate this. They have several arms and that also was one of the reasons why they are misfits and therefore cannot be my answer. So therefore answer 4 is also gone. So the correct answer then is the one that is left. That's option number 2. So that's your correct answer. Let's go to the next question. Which one of the following statements is not true about the camouflaging ability of the cephalopods? So no, oh, excuse me. Not true means false. So very quickly take a look. Let's take a look. Cephalopods can change their texture. Yes, we said that. Okay. So this is true. Eliminate. Cephalopods can take on the color of their predator. Well, they did not mention this. So I will put a star on this and I'll hold it. Cephalopods can change their color. True, yes, they can. The iridescence and the other colors. Cephalopods can blend into the color of their surroundings. Yes, just like a polar bear, they can become white or blue or green. So eliminate, eliminate. That means again the answer will be option 2, the one that was not given there in the passage. So eliminate. Let's go to the next one. Based on the passage, it can be inferred that camouflaging techniques in an octopus are most dissimilar to those in. Again, so if I am looking for the one that is most dissimilar, can I find the ones that are similar and eliminate that? I can. So cuttlefish was mentioned somewhere in the passage as having something similar. Okay, so were squids and so were polar bears. Remember the color of the polar bear is white. The color of the squid and the fish, the octopus is same because it reflects the same colors. So these three. Sea snails were mentioned as being part of the same family, but it was not mentioned as if they are similar or dissimilar. So therefore again I will eliminate 1, 2 and 3 and so 4 becomes my correct answer. Now guys, this was a passage that was very doable. Most of us get scared when we look at a passage that comes from science or comes from natural science, but this was a definitely doable passage. If you were able to do it, all four questions you should have gotten right. This one, of course, was just directly from the passage. Alright, so let's come to the next passage. The next passage, engineering problems. How do you come to the best solution for a student? And that was the second passage. तो देखते चलते हैं second passage पे आ जाते हैं फटाफट. Hi Athar, hi Karthik. Alright, let's go to the second passage. Let's read this one and see. So when we teach engineering problems now, we ask students to come to a single best solution defined by technical ideals like low cost, speed to build and ability to scale. So when we are teaching engineering problems, we are asking students to find a best solution by technical ideas like cost कम हो, fast हो, जल्दी से scalable हो. These are the things. This way of teaching prime students, so this way of teaching tells the students, it makes them ready to believe that their decision making is purely objective. That all decision making is based on cost, speed, scalability. As it is grounded in math and science. So they think that all decision making is based on maths and science. This is known as technical social dualism. Very beautiful passage. So this is known as technical social dualism. The idea that the technical and social dimensions of engineering problems are readily separable. That means you can separate the technical issues and the social issues, and they remain distinct throughout the problem definition and solution process. So when you define the problem and when you solve the problem, the idea that the technical part and the social part will remain very different is what the people understand. Non-technical parameters such as access to a technology, cultural relevancy or potential harms are deemed political and invalid in this way of learning. So when we think of non-technical parameters such as, do I have access to a technology? Is it culturally relevant? Or is there a potential harm to this? You do not consider them. So social problems are not considered while you are creating a technical solution. But those technical ideals are at their core social. So ये जो technical ideals हैं, actually they are social and political choices determined by a dominant culture that is focused on economic growth for the most privileged sections of society. So this is actually the problem, that this thing is not about you and me. The technical solutions are only about people who are coming from a certain privileged section of the society. Okay, they are the ones who have certain economic ideals, and we are focusing on those. By choosing to downplay public welfare, when you choose to ignore or give it less importance, okay, as a critical parameter for engineering design, we risk creating a culture of disengagement from societal concerns amongst engineers that is antithetical to the ethical code of engineering. So engineering codes say that, well, we should have uh, engineering which is not non-ethical, which is not divorced or disengaged from societal concerns. So engineering also requires societal concerns to be worried about. In my field, so author is from the same field of medical devices. Medical devices means medical instruments. Ignoring social dimensions has real consequences. Most FDA approved drugs are incorrectly dosed for people assigned female at birth. So most of the drugs which are incorrectly dosed for people who are assigned the gender female at birth, leading to unexpected adverse reactions. तो reactions भी हो जाते हैं. This is because they have been inadequately representing decision making roles can encode social inequities. So they keep aside the physical issues. If you have subjective beliefs and you treat them as facts, then what will happen is, especially for those who are in decision making roles, that will create social inequalities, that will create social inequities. For example, spirometers, routinely used devices that measure lung capacity. So you have a device that measures your lung capacity. Now that's called a spirometer. Uh-oh. Oh, somehow I think I have managed to misplace one entire slide from this. If I'm not mistaken. Let me read out the rest of the passage to you. I have it on my screen. So let's talk about spirometers, which are routinely used devices that measure lung capacity. They still have correction factors that automatically assume similar lung capacity in black and Asian individuals. So blacks or Asians may be the same lung capacity assume kar lete hain. Now these racially based adjustments are derived from research done by eugenicists who thought these racial differences were biologically determined and who considered non-white people as inferior. Now, these machines ignore the influence of social and environmental factors on lung capacity. Now, many technologies for systematically marginalized people have not been built because they were not deemed important, such as better early diagnostics and treatment for diseases like endometriosis, a disease that afflicts 10% of people with uteruses. And we hardly question whether these devices are built sustainably, which has led to a crisis of medical waste and healthcare accounting for 10% of US greenhouse gas emissions. Social justice must be made core to the way engineers are trained. Some universities are working on this. Engineers taught this way will be prepared to think critically about what problems we choose to solve, how we do so responsibly, and how we build teams that challenge our ways of thinking. Individual engineering professors are also working to embed societal needs in their pedagogy. Now, Darshan Karwat at the University of Arizona developed social engineering to challenge engineers to acknowledge their full moral and social responsibility through practical self-reflection. Khalid Kadir at the University of California, Berkeley created the popular course Engineering, Environment and Society that teaches engineers how to engage in place-based knowledge and understanding of the people, context and history to design better technical approaches in collaboration with community. When we design and build with equity and justice in mind, we craft better solutions that respond to the complexities of entrenched systemic problems. Now, question number 5 says, the author is making the claim. So what is the claim that the author is making? What is it that he's trying to say? Now let's take a look. Engineering students today are taught to focus on objective technical outcomes independent of the social dimensions of their work. Well, this is something that the writer has said. So I'll put a star on this. I will look at the other options also. Technical social dualism has emerged as a technique for engineering students to incorporate social considerations. Well, the passage has said that they do not incorporate. So this is factually incorrect, cannot be my answer. The objective of best solutions in engineering has shifted the focus of pedagogy from humanism and social obligations to technological perfection. Well, the passage does not say that there is a shift that has happened and therefore C cannot be the correct answer. Look at D or look at 4. Engineering students today are trained to be non-subjective in their reasoning as this best enables them to develop much needed universal solutions. Again, the passage does not really say that this is what he wants to say. The writer says that they're missing out on the societal concerns and that is missing here. So therefore this one is incomplete and cannot be my correct answer. So eliminate. Okay, so I come back to option 1 and that now becomes my correct answer. Okay, question number 6. All of the following are examples of the negative outcomes of focusing on technical ideas in the medical sphere except. So which is not an example of the negative outcomes of focusing. So first look for the examples of negative outcomes of focusing on technical ideas and eliminate those and then you come to the correct answer. So let's take a look very quickly. So neglect of research and development of medical technologies for the diagnosis and treatment of diseases that typically afflict marginalized communities. Well, this is an example, so therefore I will eliminate that. Exclusion of non-privileged groups in clinical trials, which leads to incorrect drug dosages. We spoke about women or those assigned the female gender not being part of this. So therefore, yes, this is an example, so I will eliminate. Incorrect assignment of people as female at birth, which has resulted in faulty drug intervention. Well, the passage said that people are assigned female and the dosages are incorrect. But the passage has not said incorrect assignment of people as female, and therefore this is something that's not mentioned in the passage. So I'll put a star on this. Let's look at the last one. Continuing calibration of medical devices based on past racial biases that have remained unadjusted for changes. Well, this is also something that was mentioned as an example. So eliminate this also. So best answer then will be option number 3. Let's come to the next question. Question number 7 आ जाते हैं. Question number 7 कह रहा है, the author gives all of the following reasons for why marginalized people are systematically discriminated against in technologically related interventions. So again, look for the reasons why marginalized people are systematically discriminated against. So the people who have been marginalized, they are systematically being discriminated. So these are the reasons that are given in the passage. The one that is not given in the passage will be the correct answer. So let's take a look very quickly. These racially based adjustments are derived from researches that are done by eugenicists who thought these racial differences were biologically determined and who considered non-white people as inferior. Well, this was given as a reason and therefore I am going to eliminate that. And we hardly question whether devices are built sustainably, which has led to a crisis of medical waste and healthcare, accounting for 10% of US greenhouse gas emissions. Where is the marginalized people being discriminated here in this option? He is not, so I'll put a star on this. Beyond physical failing, subjective beliefs treated as facts by those in decision making can encode social inequities. I believe women are inferior in strength and therefore I give them smaller dosages or I have smaller or easier machines for them. Unfair, social inequity. So therefore, yes, this is one of the reasons mentioned, so eliminate. But those technical ideals are at their core social and philosophical choices determined by a dominant culture focused on economic growth for the most privileged. तो जो अमीर लोग हैं उनके लिए ही है. तो ये फिर से एक रीजन हो गया मार्जिनलाइज करने वाला. Okay, so therefore 1, 3 and 4 have to be eliminated and the correct answer will be 2. Let's come to question number 8. We can infer that the author would approve of a more evolved engineering pedagogy that includes all of the following except. So again the question says author would approve of an engineering pedagogy that will include. So what all does the author want to be included in the engineering pedagogy? Let's take a look. Okay, again, a more responsible approach to technical design and problem solving than a focus on speed in developing and bringing to scale. Well, he does say that a more responsible approach will be better. Look for a problem solving approach. Look for something that will be inclusive. So writer would approve. So cannot be my answer. Look at the second one. Moving towards technical social dualism where social community needs are incorporated in problem definition and solutions. Okay. Would the author want us to move towards technical social dualism? He does not want us to move towards this dualism. He wants us to move away. So I'll put a star. This should probably be my correct answer. Design that is based on the needs of communities using local knowledge and responding to local priorities. Well, writer has said that अगर आप local knowledge वहाँ से indigenous चीजें उठाएंगे तो वो बिल्कुल सही रहेगा. So approved by the author. So eliminate. Making considerations of environmental sustainability intrinsic to the development of technological solutions. So you worry about environmental sustainability and that is very important for your solutions. Again, this would be something that the author would approve of. Please understand this may not be mentioned in the passage because you are inferring these things. But these are certainly things that the author would approve of. The only one he would not approve of is the movement towards the technical social dualism because that is something he has said is actually already there. and that's something he does not like. So therefore the correct answer should be 2. Let's take a look at the next passage, passage number 3. Here you are. Now, this one was a very interesting one. Social institutions, and what are these social institutions and how do they, form part of our society and what are all. So let's take a look. Let's read this passage. पढ़ते हैं और फिर इसको discuss करते हैं. We begin with the emergence of the philosophy of social science as an arena of thought and as a set of social institutions. So we start with how did the philosophy of social science emerge? It emerged as an arena of thought and as a set of social institutions. So एक set of social institutions थे. The two characterizations overlap but are not congruent. तो ये दोनों overlapping है but congruent नहीं है. क्या? Academic disciplines are social institutions. This concept कि academic disciplines social institutions है, ये दो concepts हैं, overlapping है but congruent नहीं है. My view is that institutions are all those social entities that organize actions. So institution is anything that organizes action. They link acting individuals into social structures. So here are 5 people who are actionable or who take action, put them into a group, that becomes a social structure. There are various kinds of institution. We talk of the different kinds of institution. Hegelians and Marxists, so people who follow Hegel and people who follow Marx, emphasize universal institutions such as family, rituals, governance, economy and military. तो ये standard institutions हैं, universal institutions. These are mostly institutions that just grew. Perhaps so they happened by themselves. Perhaps in some imaginary beginning of time, they spontaneously appeared. In their present incarnations, as they are currently, however, they are very much the period of product of conscious attempts to mold and plan them. Today, they are consciously being planned and molded. We have family law, established and disestablished churches, its constitutions and laws, including those governing the economy and the military. So now all of these are planned structures. Institutions deriving from statute, from law, like joint stock companies are formal by contrast with informal ones such as friendships. So you have formal institutions and informal institutions. There are some institutions that come in both formal and informal variants as well as in mixed ones. Consider the fact that the stock exchange and black market are both market institutions, one formal, other not. Consider further that there are many features of the work of stock exchange that rely on informal, non-codifiable agreements, not least the language used for communication. To be precise, mixers are the norm. So they say that the stock exchange and the black market are both mixed form of institutions. From constitutions at the top to bylaws near the bottom, we are always adding to or tinkering with earlier institutions. The grown and the design are intertwined. So how they are growing, how they are intertwining is by being, how they are being designed is all intertwined now. It is usual in social thought to treat culture and tradition as different from, although alongside, so we treat them as different even though they are together institutions. The view taken here is different. Culture and tradition are subsets of institutions analytically isolated for explanatory or expository purposes. So we take culture and tradition and we use them for isolation of explanation, for reasons of explanation or expositions. Some social scientists have taken all institutions, even purely local ones, to be entities that satisfy basic human needs under local conditions. Others differed and declared any structure of reciprocal roles and norms and institution. Most of these differences are differences of emphasis rather than disagreement. So disagreement नहीं है, बस emphasize अलग-अलग पे कर रहे हैं. Let us straddle all these versions and present institutions very generally as structures that serve to coordinate the actions of individuals. Institutions themselves then have no aims or purpose other than those given to them by actors or used by actors to explain them. Then we come to language. So language is the formative institution for social life and for science. बिना language के कुछ हो नहीं सकता है. Both formal and informal languages involved, naturally grown or designed. Language is all of these to varying degrees. Languages are paradigms of institutions, or from another perspective, nested sets of institutions. So language is also another type of institution. Syntax, semantics, lexicon and alphabet character sets are all institutions within the larger institutional framework of a written language. So एक language है, उसके अंदर syntax है, lexicon है, semantics है, alphabet और character sets हैं. Natural languages are typical example of what Ferguson called the result of human action, but not the execution of any human design. तो natural language क्या होती है? Where there is human action है, but not a plan. तो human ने act किया but plan नहीं किया था. Not the execution of any human design. Reformed natural languages and artificial languages introduce design into their modification or refinements of natural language. जब आप उन्हें रिफॉर्म करते हैं तो उसमें डिजाइन के एलिमेंट्स आ जाते हैं. Above all, languages are paradigms of institutional tools that function to coordinate. Okay, so that was our passage. Let's take a look. What is the essence of the passage? Well, let's take a look. Take a second and try and solve this question. So, पहला question जो है, what is the essence of the passage? It is usual in social thought to treat culture and tradition as different from institutions. It is usual in social thought was not what the writer really wanted to say. The stock exchange and the black market are both market institutions. Well, the passage was not really about the stock market and the black market. It was about institutions. So then again, this is not relevant to us. Institutions are structures that serve to coordinate the actions of individuals. Yes, we were talking of institutions, and therefore this could possibly be a correct answer. Language is the fundamental formal institution for social life and for science. Again, were we only talking of language? Well, we did not talk of language in the rest of the passage. Only in the last passage we brought out language and said, yes, it is also a type of institution. So again, 4 is incorrect. So best answer then will be 3. So that should be your correct essence of the passage. Let's look at the next one, question number 10. In first paragraph of the passage, what are the two characterizations that are seen as overlapping but not congruent? Well, we have seen this. I had very clearly said academic disciplines and social institutions. यही दो चीजें हमने कही थी, बहुत clearly passage में बता ही दिया था. If we go back to the passage here, so see the two characterizations overlap but are not congruent. Academic disciplines are social institutions. So disciplines and institutions are the ones that are not overlapping. So therefore this has to be the correct answer. It was very, very simple. From the first paragraph you could have read and marked it up. Okay. All of the following inferences from the passage are false except. तो पहले हम false वाले मार्क कर लें और फिर जो बचेगा वही हमारा करेक्ट आंसर हो जाएगा. तो देखते हैं. Natural language refers to that stage of language where no conscious human intent is evident in the formation of language. Okay. Now, interestingly, this is the one that is true. क्योंकि अगर हम वो last paragraph याद करें, तो in that last paragraph we had said that we have taken action, but no conscious planning has happened. So वही कह रहा है that stage of language development where no conscious human intent is evident. So this should be true. So I'll put a star on this. Let me look at the other options. The institution of friendship cannot be found in the institution of joint stock companies because the first is an informal one, the second is a formal one. Well, this is something that we cannot really infer because formal and informal and mixed, they may be the same concept. So false. Eliminate. Institutions like family, rituals, governance, economy and military are natural and cannot be conscious. They can be consciously modified. That first paragraph we had said that. So this is also false. As concepts, culture and tradition have no analytical, explanatory or expository power. Again, you go back to the passage and this is also mentioned very clearly in the passage. Culture and tradition are used for explanatory and expository processes, and therefore again this is false. So because 2, 3, 4 are all false, the correct answer is going to be 1. Please understand that. False except means true. So this one was clearly true. Remember, false plus except is equal to true. So this is your correct answer. Question number 12 पे आ जाते हैं. Consider the fact that the stock exchange and the black market are both market institutions, one formal, one not. तो हम देख रहे हैं कि दोनों ही market institutions हैं, एक formal है, the other one is not. Which of the following statement best explains this quote in the context of the passage? Well, this one was very easy. So you just had to identify what is the explanation of this quotation. Didn't have to do much here. So very clearly, market instruments can be formally traded in the stock exchange and informally. We were not really trying to do this. We were trying to define that they are both different types of institutions. So A cannot be the correct answer. The stock market and black market are both organized to function by rules. We don't know if this is not the meaning of the given statement. The stock exchange and black market are examples of how, even within the same domain, different kind of institutions can coexist. Yes, so this is absolutely right. कि भाई वो भी है दोनों इंस्टीट्यूशंस है दोनों मार्केट में वर्क करती है बट एक फॉर्मल है एक इनफॉर्मल है एक लीगल है एक इलीगल है. Stock exchange and black market are both dependent on the markets to survive. This is out of context of the passage because ऐसा कुछ भी mentioned नहीं था passage में कि dependent है market में तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं कह सकते हैं. तो eliminate कर दो अगले question पे चलते हैं. Question number 13, the next paragraph. Let's take a look. तो एक बार पढ़ेंगे फटाफट से इस पैसेज को and then we will pick up this question. So humans today make music. Well, this was a very interesting passage. This was very much like those articles in Guardian and such like. तो वो बहुत प्यारा सा article था मुझे बड़ा मजा आया इसको पढ़कर. Humans today make music. Think beyond all the qualification that might trail after this bold statement. So humans make music. Now, qualification here means considerations or conditions. Now, do not think of any condition that may come after this statement. Humans make music. Just keep it as it is. That only certain humans make music. Now, these are all the conditions that can happen. Extensive training is involved. That many societies distinguish musical specialists from non-musicians. That in today's societies, most listen to music rather than making it and so forth. These are all the different conditions. We are really not worried about these conditions. Okay, these qualifications, whatever their local merit, whatever their importance, wherever they are given, are moot in the face of the overarching. Moot means useless. Okay, they're useless in the face of the overarching truth, the main truth, the big truth. Arch means towering above. So there is that overarching truth that making music is the province of all those who perceive and experience what is made. So anyone who makes music, if he enjoys it, then he is the maker of the music. Okay, considered from a cognitive, learning and psychological perspective, I make music. Who can make it? Anyone who understands it, anyone who experiences it can clearly make music. ठीक है? We are almost all of us musicians. सब लोग musicians हैं. कैसे? Everyone who can entrain, that means you can train, not necessarily dance to a beat. You can take a beat, move with it. You are musical. Who can recognize a repeated tune? Not necessarily, you don't have to sing, but you can recognize. Who can distinguish one instrument or one singing voice from another. So you can recognize you are musical. I will often use an antique word recently revived to name this broader musical experience. Humans are musicking creatures. बड़ा प्यारा word है ये. तो हम लोग क्या हैं? हम लोग musicking creatures हैं. यानी हमें music से प्यार है. The set of capacities that enables musicking is a principal marker of modernity. Modern humanity में हम लोग सभी जो हैं हमारे पास capacities हैं. There is nothing polemical in this assertion. He is not saying that I am going to divide you. Polemical means that brings or invokes very strong associations. except a certain insistence which will figure often in what follows, that music can be included in our thinking about fundamental human commonalities. That musicking has to be part of our human commonalities. हमारे तुम्हारे में जो common है वो यही है. Capacities involved in musicking are many and take shape in complicated ways arising from innate dispositions. Most of these capacities overlap with non-musical ones, though a few may be distinct and dedicated to musical perception and production. In the area of overlap, linguistic capacities seem to be particularly important. यानी बोलने वाली language skills are most common. Okay. Though a few, sorry, and humans are in principle language makers in addition to music makers. So we make music, but we also make language. Speaking creatures as well as musicking ones. So we speak as well as make music. Humans are symbol makers too. तो हम symbols भी बनाते हैं. A feature tightly bound up with language, not so tightly with music. The species Cassandra dubbed Homo symbolicus cannot help but tangle musicking in webs of symbolic thought and expression, habitually making it a component of behavioral complexes that form such expressions. But in fundamental features, musicking is neither language-like nor symbol-like. And from those differences come many clues to its ancient emergence. तो कैसे आया वो ना लैंग्वेज जैसा है ना सिंबल्स जैसा है. म्यूजिक एक अलग ही चीज चल रही है. If musicking is a primary shared trait of modern humans, then to describe its emergence, आप उसकी emergence को देखिए, must be. That means what is the emergence of music is to detail the coalescing of that modernity. तो modernity इकट्ठी हुई, ये है music का start. This took place, archaeologists are clear, over a very long duration, लंबे duration पे हुआ, at least 50,000 years or so, more likely something closer to 200,000, depending in part on what that coalescence is taken to comprise. So ये जो coming together of humans है, इसको हम कितना बड़ा मानेंगे, depend करेगा उस पे कि 50,000 years लें या 200,000 years लें. If we look back 20,000 years ago, a small portion of this long period, we reach the lives of humans whose musical capacities were probably different from our, probably little different from our own. यानी 20,000 साल पहले वाली लोगों की म्यूजिकल कैपेसिटीज हमारे जैसी है. Little different मतलब नहीं. As we look farther back, we reach horizons where this similarity can no longer hold. Perhaps 40,000 years ago, perhaps 70,000, perhaps 100. फिर ये सिमिलैरिटी नहीं है. 20,000 साल की पहले डिफरेंट म्यूजिक है. But we can never cross a line before which all cognitive capacities recruited in modern musicking abruptly disappear. तो सारे cognitive abilities गायब हो जाए ऐसा नहीं है. Unless we embrace the incredible notion that music sprang forth in, मतलब if we imagine कि एक ही बार में सारा म्यूजिक पैदा हो गया, तब तो मान सकते हैं, वरना नहीं मान सकते. Its emergence will have to be tracked in gradualist terms across a long period. There is one general feature of a history of music's emergence. The history was at once socio-cultural and biological. The capacities recruited in musicking are many. So describing its emergence involves following several or many separate strands. तो आप एक नहीं, आप बहुत सारी चीजों को consider कर रहे हैं. Question number 1 for this passage. Based on the passage, which one of the following? This one was an easy passage. There is a valid argument about the emergence of music or musicking. Anyone who can perceive and experience music must be considered capable of musicking. Yes, but emergence of musicking के लिए है शायद नहीं. Okay, so my first problem is this. All musical work is located in the overlap between linguistic capacity and music production. ऐसा कहीं नहीं बोला है. So this I cannot take. Okay. Although musicking is not language-like, it shares the quality of being a form of expression. ऐसा भी कंपैरिजन जो है पैसेज में नहीं दिया था और इमरजेंस के लिए तो नहीं दिया. 200,000 years ago, human musical capacities were not very different from what they are today. Well, yes, this was mentioned about the emergence of musicking. So therefore, the correct answer should be D. Absolutely. Think beyond all the qualifications that might trail beyond this. I missed out on a question. Oh yes, I missed out on this question. Which one of the following sets of terms best serves as keywords to the passage? कौन सा वाला keywords है फटाफट देख लेते हैं. Question number 14. Humans, psychological advantage, music in casserole, emergence of music. Okay. Casserole was not a keyword to the passage. So eliminate. Music in cognitive psychology, antique symbol makers, modernity. ऑर्डर में कॉग्निटिव साइकोलॉजी यहाँ पे नहीं है. हमने स्टार्ट किया था ह्यूमंस से, तो दैट वाज द फर्स्ट थिंग. म्यूजिकिंग भी नहीं हो सकता है, तो ह्यूमंस वाले ऑप्शन ही कंसिडर करने चाहिए. ह्यूमंस, देन कैपेसिटी. ओके, ह्यूमंस में पैसेज में हमने बात करी थी सेट ऑफ कैपेसिटीज की, जो कि म्यूजिकिंग के बारे में है. तो अगेन वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग ऑफ कैपेसिटीज, वी आर ओनली टॉकिंग ऑफ म्यूजिकिंग. And then linguistic capacities, then symbol making, and then modern humanity. And so the correct answer should be 4. These were the keywords that were there in the passage. Question number 15. Here is question number 15. Think beyond all qualification that might trail after this word statement. What is the author trying to communicate in this quoted extract? I have already explained this extract to you. So it is very, very simple that although there may be many caveats and other considerations, the statement is essentially true. तो ये बात जो है true है, ठीक है? तो यही बात correct. ये बात हम already explain कर चुके हैं while we were explaining the passage. Question number 16. Which one of the following, if true, would weaken the author's claim that humans are musicking creatures? So we are trying to prove that humans are not musicking creatures. इसके लिए correct answer होगा, देखते हैं. As musicking is neither language like nor symbol like, it is a much older form of expression. Well, how does this weaken the fact that humans are musicking creatures? This actually strengthens it. So cannot be my answer. Non-musical capacities are of far, well, this is irrelevant for us. Non-musical capacities, तो मैं इसे कहूंगी irrelevant है हमारे लिए, so eliminate कर दें. Weaken करना है. Musical capacities are primarily socio-cultural, which explains the wide diversity of musical forms. Well, humans are musicking creatures, and this is म्यूजिकल कैपेसिटीज आर प्राइमरली सोशियो कल्चरल. अगर ये सोशियो कल्चरल यानी सोसाइटी से आ रही है, तो फिर ह्यूमंस प्राइमरली म्यूजिकल क्रीचर्स नहीं होंगे. सो दिस कैन वीकन द स्टेटमेंट ऑफ द ऑथर. From a cognitive and psychological vantage, musicking arises from unconscious dispositions, not conscious ones. Again, ये कहीं पे लिखा नहीं था, so not to be taken from the answer. So the best answer here will be option number 3. That's the one that weakens the author's claim that humans are musicking creatures. इसमें बिल्कुल कह दिया that humans are socio-cultural and they take their cues from the society around them. तो clearly ये correct answer नहीं होगा. Okay, next question पे चलते हैं. Okay, हमारे 4 RCs at the end of this. Let's take a look. The 4 sentences labeled 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take a minute and let's try and solve this. Or if you've already got your answers, if I'm not mistaken. चलो, तो देखते हैं इस क्वेश्चन को. क्वेश्चन नंबर 17. 4 सेंटेंसेस दिए हुए, आपको ऑर्डर बताना था बहुत सिंपल तरीके से. Well, so the trajectory of cheerfulness through the self is linked to the. I will quickly tell you the correct answer. तो हम लोग का टाइम भी काफी रन आउट कर रहा है. The correct answer, we start with statement number 3. When you take on a cheerful expression, no matter what the state of your soul, your cheerfulness moves into the self. The interior of the self is changed by the power of the cheer. So you start by defining a concept and you start by this. So sentence number 3 हो जाता है हमारा पहला सेंटेंस. हमारा नेक्स्ट सेंटेंस होता है, अब कंटिन्यू करेंगे. ये जो मूवमेंट है, the trajectory of cheerfulness through the self is linked to the history of the word cheer. अब आ जाते हैं वर्ड पे, which comes from an old French meaning face. है, तो यहाँ पे आ गए. उसके बाद हम आ जाते हैं अगले सेंटेंस पे, which will be people in the medieval Canterbury tales have a piteous or a sober cheer. यहाँ पे cheer क्या है? एक face है. दे हैव अ सोबर फेस, तो कंटिन्यू किया। और फिर फाइनली आ जाते हैं ट्रांसलेशंस ऑफ बाइबल इनटू वर्नाक्युलर, एक्सपैंडेड द नाउन cheer into the cheerfulness. So 3, 1, 4, 2, and that's the correct order. This one was a tough question. Maybe ये select नहीं करना चाहिए था. Okay? Okay, let's go to the next one. Question number 18. Let's take a look. Okay, now this one also. Food is commonly framed through the lens of individual choice. You can choose to eat healthy. यहाँ से शुरू किया कि भाई फूड जो है इंडिविजुअल चॉइस की बात है, आप चूज कर सकते हैं। द इंडिविजुअलाइज्ड फ्रेमिंग ऑफ चॉइस, ये जो इंडिविजुअल चॉइस है, इट अपीयर्स टू अ पॉपुलर डिजायर टू एक्सप्लेन एजेंसी। आई कैन चूज टू डू दिस, आई कैन चूज टू डू दैट. This ability to be the agent of something is something that people really like. So 2 and then 4. Okay. Appeals to popular desire to experience agency, but draws away from the structural obstacles that stratify individual food choices. तो जो structural problems हैं in picking up choice of food is not mentioned here. This is particularly so in a neoliberal context. That means you don't talk about the structural problems. Okay, where the state has, so the government has transferred the responsibility of eating right from itself to you. So the government is no longer selling the iodine wala namak. They are saying now your choice. If you want to eat iodine, you can. If you don't want to eat iodine, you may not. And then we come to one, which is where women may prioritize cooking because they feel they are alone. So ये जो individual consumer पे shift किया, ये shifting यहाँ पे explain की है. So 2, 4, 3 and 1, and that is your correct answer. Paragraph ये जो था, again ये भी medium to tough question था. So I would really again say yes, you could have thought about it, but not an easy question. इससे काफी आसान क्वेश्चंस जो थे फिलर्स वाले थे. So passages and short summary. Let's take a look. So several of the world's earliest cities were organized along egalitarian lines. In some regions, urban populations governed themselves for centuries without any indication of temples and palaces that would later emerge. तो बात करें कि अर्बन पॉपुलेशन जहाँ पे भी थी वो इगैलिटेरियन लाइंस में डिवाइडेड थी, कोई राजा नहीं, कोई मालिक नहीं, nothing like that was there and nothing like that was part of our society. There is simply no evidence of a class of administrators or any other sort of ruling stratum. कोई है ही नहीं ऐसा stratum. It would seem that the mere fact of urban life does not necessarily imply any particular form of political organization. कि just because you're living in a society you will have a government? No. And never did. पहले भी नहीं था. Far from resigning us to inequality. Picture that is now emerging of humanity's past may open our eyes to egalitarian possibilities we otherwise would never have considered. तो ऐसे egalitarian possibilities थे जो हम अभी कभी सोच ही नहीं पाते, but facts are emerging which are pointing to that. Now the correct answer here was very beautifully option 3, which said we now have the evidence in support of the existence of an egalitarian urban life in some cities where political and civic organization were less hierarchical. नहीं थी उनके पास hierarchy. ये देखो, contrary to our assumption that urban settlements have always involved hierarchical, ancient cities were not organized this way. This is not about the organization, rather about the equality. So this is not really a summary. The lack of hierarchical administration in ancient cities can be deduced by the absence of religious and, well, is that really what we were talking about in the passage? That they did not have an organization because they do not have temples and palaces. Cannot say. That was not what the passage said. The emergence of a class of administrators and ruling stratum transformed the egalitarian society. Well, this was really not what the passage said. Please understand, we are looking for a summary, we are not looking for your inference. So short summary very beautifully was 3. The next one. There's a common idea that museum artworks are somehow timeless objects available to admire for generations. So everybody will have access to these museum things. But many are objects of decay, that means they will be destroyed. Even the most old venerable master paintings don't escape. Pigments discolor, varnish cracks, canvases warp. This challenging fact of art world life is down to something that sounds more like a thread from a morality tale. Inherent vice. So vice, morality, immorality, badness is there. So you cannot do anything about it. Damien Hirst's iconic shark floating in a tank is a work that put a spotlight on inherent vice. So they put this guy put a shark in a tank. It was destroyed, right? It obviously कितने दिन तक रखोगे? So it showed that there is inherent vice also. When he made it in 91, Hearst got himself in a pickle by not using the right kind of pickle to preserve the giant fish. The result was that the shark began to decompose quite quickly. Its preserving liquid clouding the skin, wrinkling, and an unpleasant smell wafting from the tank. So they may not, continue. Artworks may just not continue for a long time. So we are talking of, please understand, artworks and not museums. So the role of museums have evolved to ensure that artworks are preserved forever. We have not spoken of the role of museums and therefore directly ये incorrect. Artworks may not last forever. Well, we were talking of artworks, so I'll put a star on this. My fault, guys. Okay, so artworks, we might have been talking about this. Museums have to guard timeless. Again, the passage did not say that they have to guard, so irrelevant for us. Museums are left with a moral responsibility. Again, was not mentioned here. Please understand, we were looking at a short summary. We were not looking for the writer's opinion or the question maker's opinion. So best answer 2 here. Let's go to the next question. This is the trick question, guys. The question where we had to think about क्या करना है. तो क्या करना है? Let's take a look. पैसेज दिया है, एक सेंटेंस दिया है, ये सेंटेंस है, ये सेंटेंस हमें फिल करना है. Now the interesting thing is the sentences he explained. So that means there has to be a mention of a he. When we start reading this passage, interestingly, जो एक बंदे का मेंशन आता है वो यहाँ पे आता है. For Karmakar, a renewed interest in ghee is emblematic of a return to basics movement in India. That means इसके पहले चॉइस 1 और 2 में तो ये सेंटेंस आएगा ही नहीं. तो चॉइस 1 2 एलिमिनेट कर सकते हैं, चॉइस 3 और 4 में ही आने वाला है. This movement is also part of an overall trend towards slow food. In keeping with the movement's philosophy, ghee can be produced locally and has inextricable cultural ties. अब ये पोर्शन बात करने लगा how ghee is made and where it is made. So again the passage, the statement which is this was years in the making but fast tracked during the pandemic cannot be how the ghee was made. So the best choice of filling this one will be option 3. Okay, तो ऑप्शन 3 में हमने ऑप्शन 3 के ठीक पहले कर्माकर को मेंशन किया और उसके इमीडिएटली बाद कहा he explained. Remember when we were talking of parajambals, we said full names first and then pronouns. Nouns and pronouns, you remember? So Karmakar and he explained will fit in very beautifully. So ये होगा हमारा correct answer. Next question पे चलते हैं. पैराजंबल है अगला वाला भी. एक सेकेंड लेगा, पढ़ लो. Question number 22. Now the correct answer here was 2, 1, 4, 3. फटाफट देखते हैं. Discourse on the threat of environmental collapse revolves around cutting down emissions, but biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse are caused by myriad and diverse reasons. So we start by talking about an idea. The idea is that there is a problem of environmental collapse and everyone is saying that सिर्फ cutting down emissions है, but बहुत सारे reasons हो सकते हैं. And then the reasons come from chemical pollutants to the damming of rivers to invasive species every environmental issue is different and there is no single solution that you can use. तो यहाँ पे आ गए. फिर next आते clearly यार, environmental crisis requires large political solutions, not minor technological ones. Don't try and solve every single problem separately. Solve it holistically, the problems will disappear. Okay, and this would require legislation that recognizes the rights of future generations. So 2, 1, 4 and 3, and that's your para jumper. 2, 1, 4, 3. All right. The next one is again a short summary. Let's take a look. So the many debates about behavioral control in the age of big data echo the Cold War era anxieties about brainwashing, insidious manipulation, and repression in technological society. So what we're saying is, in this age where data is, controlling everything, we are talking about things that we have similarly talked in the Cold War era also. In that time, the Americans were afraid of the Russians, and Russians were afraid of the Americans. Now we are all afraid of data and people who are manipulating the data. In his book Psychopolitics, Han warns of the sophisticated use of targeted online content, enabling influence to take place on a pre-reflexive level. On our current trajectory, in the current path, freedom will prove to have been merely an interlude. So freedom is very short-lived. The fear is that digital age has not liberated us but exposed us by offering our private lives to machine learning algorithms that can process masses of personal and behavioral data. They have all the data about us. In a world of influencers and digital entrepreneurs, it's not easy to imagine the resurgence of a culture engendered through disconnect and disaffiliation. But concerns over the threat of online targeting, polarization, and big data have inspired recent polemics about the need to rediscover solitude and disconnect. So he's saying that because there is such a lot of talk about how data is going to be controlling all of us, it would be very interesting, and it is very polemical yet important that some of us now decide to disconnect and isolate. So that was what the summary of this passage was very clearly. If you look at the options, with big data making personal information freely available, the debate on the nature of freedom and the need for privacy has resurfaced. Sounds good to me, but let's look at the other options. The role of technology in influencing public behavior is reminiscent of the manner in which behavior was manipulated. But again, बाकी passage छोड़ दिया इन्होंने. So they have just talked about this line. So this is incomplete. So cannot be my correct answer. So I will eliminate. Rather than freeing us, digital technology is enslaving us by collecting personal. Again, one specific line that we are talking about here. So again, incomplete. So cannot be my correct answer. Look at the last one. Notion of freedom and privacy is at stake in a world where AI is capable of influencing behavior through data gathered online. Yes, this sounds good to me क्योंकि अच्छा लग रहा है. 1 और 4 काफी अच्छे हैं, but artificial intelligence specifically mentioned नहीं था passage में. So this is an extra term that you have, and that is why I will eliminate option 4. So best answer will be option A. Let's take a look at our last question again. Pillar ही था, तो देखते हैं sentence क्या है. Most were first time users of a tablet and a digital app. There were some people who were the first time users of a tablet and a digital app. क्या बात कर रहे हैं. आगे बढ़े. इस USP lies in ethnographic research. बात करेंगे जब हम sentences देखेंगे तो कौन लोग हैं जहां पे first time users हो सकता था. तो बात करें, the user interface caters to a Hindi speaking audience who have minimal to no experience with digital services and devices. Okay, यहाँ पे हो सकता है most were first time users of a tablet and a digital app. But the content and functionality of the app are suitable. So यहाँ पे हम बात app की करने लग गए हैं. So probably यहाँ पे fit नहीं होगा. This includes youth preparing for an independent role in life or a student ready to create a strong foundation of financial management early in her life. Most were first time users. Again यहाँ पे नहीं हो सकता है क्योंकि most की बात नहीं कर रहे. Household members desirous of improving their family's financial strength to reach their aspirations can also benefit. We piloted Aagi Badhe in early 2021 with over 400 women from rural areas. 400 औरतें गांव से. Most were first-time users of a tablet and a digital app. The digital solution generated a large amount of interest in the communities. तो आपने ये जो digital solution दिया इन औरतों को who had never used an app like this, there was a lot of interest among the communities. So yes, the correct answer here should be option number 4. यानी फोर्थ ब्लैंक वो है जहाँ पे आप ये वाला सेंटेंस फिट कर सकते हैं. वो जो 400 women in communities है उन पे ही आकर के फिट हो जाएगा. All right, guys. So that I think is the correct answer, and that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you so much. Please remember to hit like, share, subscribe, and the bell icon. And also, guys, remember to use Abhicat Live to get your 10% off on all Unacademy subscription. Remember, there is a free digital unlock going on right now. That means if you today unlock our plus courses, you can view them for free for the next 7 days. So please take advantage. Remember, the code remains the same, Abhicat Live. I hope this analysis of the slot 2 was helpful to you. We'll be bringing more of these tonight, tomorrow, and so on. Thank you so much. I hope you have a nice day. Adios, everyone.